Mommy and Daddy, you are not allowed to separate at all. We will live together as a happy family.
How did they find out that we are getting divorced?
Children, please untie us. We won't separate, we promise.
3 4-year-old triplets discover that their parents are about to separate. They are too young to understand divorce, but they understand one thing clearly. Their family is about to break. Quietly and secretly, they make a plan. They hide memories, leave clues, and set traps made of love, hoping to force their parents to remember who they used to be together. Every move is risky. Every mistake could fail. The children are racing against time, fear, and silence, and one wrong step could change their family forever. Will their plan work? Or will the morning bring goodbye? If you want to see how these children turn whispers into courage, memories into weapons, and love into a treasure hunt that could save a family, subscribe now, like this story, and comment below, because sometimes the smallest voices tell the biggest stories. The morning sun poured into the penthouse, sliding across the glass floor and painting the city below in soft, golden light. The streets looked tiny and quiet, like toys, and the parks glimmered with dew. The breakfast table gleamed in the sun, stack high with plates, bowls of fruit, jars of syrup, and a tall, lopsided pancake fortress rising in the center. Athena, Cora, and Bastian sat side by side in matching cream-colored linen outfits, their small feet swinging beneath the table. Athena's hair was carefully braided, Cora's curls bounced with every move, and Bastian's little face shone with concentration. "This one is the main tower," Cora said, lifting a pancake carefully and placing it on the fortress. "Be careful, it's very wobbly." "I see," Athena said, adjusting it gently with her small hands. "If it leans too much, it will fall. Balance is important." Bastian tapped the table with his tiny fingers, making a soft, rhythmic sound. "It sounds happy," he said, his voice quiet, almost a whisper. "The fortress makes music." Leo sat cross-legged on the floor beside them, his sleeves rolled up and his tie forgotten, flour dusting his hands. He leaned forward, pretending to guard the fortress. "I am the knight," he said, lowering his voice to a soft growl. "Nothing bad will get past me." "Not even dragons?" Cora asked, looking up at him with wide, serious eyes. "Especially dragons," Leo said, making a playful growl. The children giggled, their laughter filling the room. Athena smiled faintly, still adjusting the fortress, her eyes sharp, taking in the light, the pancakes, her family, knowing something she could not yet name. Alara stood a few steps away, holding her crystal-encrusted tablet, capturing the moment. Her hair fell softly around her shoulders, her dress was simple but elegant, and her smile was soft. But Athena saw the weight in her mother's eyes, a heaviness that had nothing to do with pancakes or sunlight. "You're all a mess," Alara said quietly. "A beautiful mess." She raised her tablet, angling it just so. "Stay like that." The children froze in place. Leo smiled at her. "For the memory," he said, nodding slightly. The tablet flashed. For one perfect, golden second, everything felt whole. Then a small sound broke the warmth. A ping. A vibration from the tablet. Athena's eyes flicked to the silver spoon next to her plate, and she saw the words reflected in its polished surface. "Final, divorce settlement from L. Blackwood." Her breath caught. Alara's smile stayed on her face, but it was frozen. Her fingers tightened around the tablet, knuckles white. Leo noticed the sudden stillness. "Did you get it?" he asked cautiously, his voice low. Alara did not answer. Her eyes lingered on the screen as if hoping the words would disappear. "Alara?" Leo said again, standing slowly. "It's nothing," she said too quickly. Her voice trembled just slightly, but she forced it soft and calm. Bastian frowned, tilting his small head. "It feels cold now," he whispered. His hands went to his chest, pressing hard, as if holding something inside. Cora looked between her parents, confusion in her wide eyes. "Why did your face change, Mama?" she asked softly. Alara looked at Leo, searching for something she could not find. Leo's smile faltered as he read the reflected words in the silver spoon. "Is it work?" he asked carefully. Alara shook her head, swallowing hard. "It's something final," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. The words hung in the room like a heavy weight. The room felt suddenly too big, too quiet, too empty. The sun still shone through the glass floor, but it did not feel warm anymore. The pancakes, the fortress, the laughter, it all seemed fragile, like a bubble that could burst at any second. Leo rubbed his face, trying to hide the sudden panic he did not want to feel. "Not now," he murmured. He knelt beside Bastian and tried to smile, but it did not reach his eyes. Cora's small hands rested on the edge of the table. "Why is nobody laughing?" she asked again, her voice trembling just slightly, the question too big for a 4-year-old. Alara swallowed, looking at each of the children in turn, then back at Leo. We need to talk later," she said, her words tight, careful. Bastian's lower lip trembled. "I don't like the quiet," he said softly, almost to himself. Athena reached out, touching his hand. "It's okay," she whispered. "We'll figure it out." Leo looked at the fortress of pancakes, leaning slightly, syrup dripping slowly, unmoving now. He took a deep breath, trying to pull himself together, but the warmth in the room had drained, leaving only tension and fear and the fragile glimmer of something breaking. The silence stretched. The laughter was gone. The golden sunlight shone, but it felt hollow. The perfect morning, the beautiful family, the love that seemed real, everything hung in the air, trembling on the edge of something irreversible. No one moved. The pancake fortress trembled again, as if sensing the shift. Athena's eyes, bright and calculating, caught every detail, storing it all. Cora fidgeted, trying to make a joke, but the words stuck in her throat. Bastian clutched his whale tightly, feeling the storm that was about to sweep through their family. And somewhere deep inside, all three knew that today, nothing would be the same. That night, the penthouse was quiet except for the faint hum of the city far below, the kind of quiet that makes even small sounds feel loud. The triplets lay in their matching beds, the linen sheets pulled up to their chins, eyes wide and minds racing. Athena whispered, "Time to move," and Bastian clutched his stuffed whale, his small body tense. Cora grinned despite the nervous flutter in her stomach. Athena's quiet feet technique was perfect. Soft steps, toes barely touching the floor, careful pauses, a rhythm only she knew. They slipped out of their room together, silent as shadows, following the sounds of muffled voices that floated from their parents' bedroom across the hall. They pressed against the door, hearts thumping in unison, ears straining. The first words they heard made a chill rise in the room. "We are just a brand now, Leo," Alara cried, her voice trembling, breaking, carrying more hurt than the children had ever heard before. "We lost the story. The story of us, of everything we dreamed. We built towers and palaces and yachts, and we forgot how to be us." Leo's voice came next, loud, sharp, full of something raw that even a 4-year-old could feel. "You stopped seeing me the day the company went public," he shouted, frustration and sorrow mixing into one sound. "You stopped seeing me, Alara. You stopped seeing me when the lights went on and the money started counting, when the world began to watch, and suddenly I was not a husband anymore. I was just a brand name, a signature, a number." Bastian's little hand went to his mouth, his eyes wide. Cora hid behind Athena, peeking around her sister's shoulder, heart hammering. Athena's face was serious, pale in the dim hallway light. "Keep listening," she whispered. "We need to hear it all. We need to know the truth." The argument grew louder, more painful, more real. "I tried to reach you," Alara said, her voice cracking. "I waited for the man I married to show up again. But every time I turned, you were gone, buried in schedules, in conferences, in visions that didn't include me anymore. I stayed, Leo, and we lost us. I didn't leave." Leo shot back. "I was always here. I built everything for us. For you. For the kids." His voice caught. "But you stopped looking at me the moment the company went public. That's when I realized we were never the same. And now you're telling me you want out." The word divorce floated through the air like poison. Bastian gasped softly, his small chest heaving. Cora whispered, "What does that mean?" Athena shook her head slightly, pressing a finger to her lips. "It means, the fortress is breaking," she whispered, voice steady even as her heart raced. "But we can fix it. We have to fix it." Alara's sobs shook her body. "I don't want to fight about money or property, Leo. I don't care about any of that. I just want the story back. I want us back. I want the laughter we had before anyone knew our names, before the world watched, before we forgot how to touch each other without thinking about everything else." Leo fell silent for a moment, breathing heavily, and then his voice softened, almost a whisper. I thought I was protecting us. I thought I was building a kingdom where we could be safe, where you wouldn't ever have to worry, where the kids would never have to know fear. But I forgot something bigger. I forgot to see you, To see us. To see me in you. Cora clutched Athena's hand. Bastian's small body trembled. They're crying, he whispered. Everything's broken. Athena's face was pale but determined. No, she said softly. Not everything. We can make them remember. We can make them laugh again. We can bring the story back. We just have to plan it right. The argument continued, voices rising and falling, tears, desperation, regret filling every corner of the penthouse. I love you, Leo, Alara whispered finally, voice raw and small. I never stopped. But we lost each other somewhere. And I love you, Leo replied, a whisper in the dark. I always have. I just forgot how to show it. Athena's small hand closed into a fist. We will remind them, she said, almost to herself, almost a vow. We have to remind them. The story isn't lost. We just have to find it. The triplets crept back to their room after that, hearts heavy but burning with purpose. Cora's mischievous grin returned. We are going to fix it, she said. We are going to save our family. Bastian hugged his whale tightly, whispering, I hope we can. Athena smiled faintly, already thinking, already planning, already knowing that tonight the first seeds of their treasure hunt had been sown. The playroom was enormous, a sprawling space filled with sunlight that poured in through tall windows, bouncing off the pale walls and scattering across the floor in golden rectangles. In the center stood their life-size dollhouse, a perfect, slightly worn replica of the little home their parents had lived in before all the towers and yachts and penthouses, a place that smelled faintly of old wood and crayons and tiny memories. Athena, Cora, and Bastian gathered inside it, sitting cross-legged on the soft rug, their matching linen outfits a little rumpled from the day's adventures but still neat enough to look deliberate. Every wall, every miniature window, every tiny door reminded them of a beginning that had been lost somewhere along the way, a story that had faded into spreadsheets, meetings, and silent dinners. Cora's eyes sparkled with mischief and determination. She slammed her small fist into her open palm and declared, We need a big feeling. Her voice rang through the dollhouse like a bell, echoing off the painted walls and wooden beams. A feeling so big, they can't ignore it. Something that makes them stop thinking about work and money and everything else, and remember us. Bastian hugged his stuffed whale tighter, resting it on his lap. His small fingers dug into the soft fabric, and his voice was low and serious. We need to find the happy music again, he said. The music that made them laugh. That made the sun shine in their eyes. I can hear it sometimes, when I close my eyes. But it's gone now. We have to bring it back. He looked from Athena to Cora, his dark eyes wide, trembling just slightly. If we can't, then everything will stay broken. Athena sat perfectly still, her small legs crossed, hands folded neatly in her lap. Her face was calm, but there was a terrifying clarity in her green eyes, a wisdom far beyond her 4 years. She looked at her siblings and then straight ahead, imagining the words she would say to the parents who had forgotten how to look at each other. Her voice was steady, precise, almost commanding. We must make them remember, she said, each word like a hammer striking an invisible wall. We need to take them on a treasure hunt. To the beginning. To the places where the story started. The places they used to love. The things they used to do before the world got so loud, before the work and the money and the fancy things made them forget why they were together. Cora jumped up and spun around, gesturing wildly. Yes. Yes. We can make it a game. A game they can't refuse. We can hide things, little things that will remind them. Clues, notes, surprises. Oh, and music. We can play the music. Bastian's lips trembled, but he nodded. We can find our voices in it. The music that makes the heart feel light. That makes laughter real. That makes them, us, together. He hugged the whale even tighter, rocking slightly. Athena stood then, her small body rigid with purpose. We will need everything, she said. Everything from the past. Every tiny memory. Every picture. Every note. Every smell. Every sound. We will collect them all and leave a trail they cannot ignore. We will remind them, they are not a brand, they are not a story in the papers, they are each other. And we are the proof. Cora clapped her hands together, her curls bouncing. And if they don't get it right away, she asked, what if they don't see the big feeling? Bastian's voice was small but fierce. Then we try again. We keep going. We follow the music. We follow the clues. We follow the story. Until they remember. Athena knelt, leaning close to both of them, eyes bright. We have no choice, she said softly, almost a whisper that carried more weight than any shout. If we do nothing, they will lose it forever. But if we try, we can bring them back. We can make them see the story again. We can make them feel it, like we feel it every day. Like we feel it in each other. Cora smiled, wide and determined. Then we start now. We start tonight. We gather everything we can. Bastian nodded, his small chin lifted. We can do it. We have to. For us. For them. Athena took a deep breath, looking around the life-size dollhouse that smelled faintly of home, of beginnings, of a past that still whispered in every corner. Tonight, she said, her voice firm, we become the storytellers. We will make them remember. We will take them back to the beginning. And we will not stop until they do. The three of them huddled together in the center of the miniature living room, their heads touching, hands clasped, hearts pounding in unison. Outside, the city slept, unaware that three tiny children had just sworn to save their family, to chase back the laughter and the music that had been lost, and to remind two adults who had forgotten how to see each other that the greatest treasure they had ever known had been with them all along. The morning was quiet, the city stretching and yawning below the penthouse like a world too big for small hearts to hold. Athena, Cora, and Bastian huddled together on the floor, the dried rose carefully clutched in Cora's tiny hand. This is it, Athena whispered, eyes bright and serious. The first step. We have to start the treasure hunt. They won't see it coming. Cora grinned mischievously. I can do the planting part. I am very sneaky. She tiptoed across the room to Leo's briefcase, which lay open on the floor near the door, papers and pens spilling slightly from it. She placed the dried rose inside with exaggerated care, making sure it was visible enough to be found but hidden enough to feel like magic. Then, with a red crayon in her small hand, she scribbled note. Find where this slept under the moon, she said aloud, testing the words, making sure they felt mysterious and important. She tucked the note gently beside the rose, curling her tiny fingers around it so it would not fly away. Bastian hugged his whale tightly and nodded. That's perfect, he said softly. It will make him remember. He will follow it. Athena crouched beside the briefcase, checking the placement, her face calm but focused. It has to be just right. The first clue must work. It must be impossible to ignore and impossible to resist. This is where it begins. The triplets watched from the hallway as Leo arrived for work, moving with his usual measured steps, unaware of the small hearts scheming behind him. Cora leaned forward, whispering, Now, wait for it. Leo picked up his briefcase, swung it over his shoulder, and paused. His eyes fell on the rose and the crayon note. He frowned slightly, puzzled, then smiled, touched by the unexpected fragility of it. What on earth? He murmured, bending down to pick up the rose. A note, in crayon? From the kids. He chuckled softly, shaking his head. All right. Let's see what this is about. The first clue led him naturally, almost magically, through the city streets. A small scribbled map sent him first to his old favorite coffee shop, a place he had not visited in years. There, a barista he vaguely remembered greeted him warmly, handing him a cup with a note taped to the sleeve. Play Alara's favorite song, the note said simply. Leo laughed softly, eyes glinting with curiosity. A street musician in the corner of the park began strumming a familiar tune, the melody soft and sweet, curling around him like a memory. He closed his eyes, the music opening a door he thought had been locked forever. Bastian whispered from the sidelines, imagining the scene, his small chest puffing up with pride. He's getting it. He's remembering the happy music. Cora bounced on her toes. Now, the next part. We have to lead him to the place where it all began. Athena's eyes glowed with purpose. Yes, he must go where the story started, where they were just Leo and Alara, before towers and yachts, before money and work, the place where love was simple and real. Step by careful step, the childish clues guided him. A note in a folded coffee napkin, a tiny drawing taped to a lamppost, the music curling through the air like a gentle hand. Leo followed each one, amused, charmed, and increasingly thoughtful, feeling the pull of memories he hadn't realized he had forgotten. Finally, the last clue brought him to the tiny community garden where he had proposed to Alara, years ago, before the world had grown heavy and bright and loud. The garden was quiet, the flowers bathed in early morning light, petals still wet with dew. Leo stepped onto the small path, the crayon note in one hand, the dried rose in the other. His heart beat faster, a strange mixture of confusion, joy, and nostalgia. I remember this place, he murmured, looking around, seeing the world as it had been back then, when life had been simpler, love had been easier, and their story had still been theirs alone. He dropped the rose into his hand again, brushing his fingers over the faded petals. This is, from them, he whispered softly, a lump forming in his throat. From the kids, trying to tell me something. Athena watched from a safe distance, hiding behind a low wall, whispering to her siblings, "It's working. He's following the path. He's remembering. Soon, we will bring the story back." Cora hugged her knees. "I can't wait for the next clue," she said, eyes shining. Bastian nodded, whispering to his whale, "We are doing it. We are bringing it all back." Leo knelt in the garden, holding the rose and the note, feeling something shift inside him, like a door opening he had thought was locked forever. The city was far away, the penthouse, the meetings, the work, all invisible in that moment. All that mattered was the path the children had made for him, the trail of small, perfect memories, leading him back to the beginning, leading him to the story they had almost lost. The studio smelled of paint and old paper, a quiet, dusty sort of smell that made the space feel alive with memory. Sunlight streamed through the tall windows, catching dust motes that danced lazily in the air. Alara's walls were covered with canvases, some finished, some half-painted, all carefully stacked and leaning against each other like soldiers standing guard over forgotten dreams. The table in the middle of the room was scattered with brushes, jars of dried paint, pencils, and sketchbooks filled with lines that seemed to move and breathe. The triplets had followed Athena's plan, moving carefully, pretending to help pack the studio for some imaginary project, even though they were really searching for clues. Anything that might help them remind their parents of what had been lost. Cora tiptoed around the room, her curls bouncing slightly, pretending to dust a canvas. "I can do this part," she said, smiling innocently, though her eyes sparkled with mischief. "I'll be careful." She reached for a large canvas leaning against the wall and, with a deliberate slip, accidentally knocked it over. The canvas hit the floor with a soft thud, sliding a little and revealing a square, metallic outline in the wooden floor that none of them had noticed before. Athena froze immediately, her sharp green eyes catching the glint of metal. "Quiet," she whispered. "That's it. That's what we were looking for." Bastian crouched down, clutching his stuffed whale tightly, peering at the small, heavy-looking floor safe. It's hiding something," he said softly. "Do you think it's important?" Athena knelt beside it, her fingers tracing the outline. She had memorized patterns from watching her mother work with her jewelry, the combination of twists and turns, clicks and pauses. "I can open it," she said confidently, almost to herself. "I know the pattern. I just need to think." She bent closer, whispered instructions to herself, moved her small fingers delicately across the dial. Cora and Bastian watched in silence, hearts thumping in their chests, the quiet of the studio broken only by Athena's steady breathing and the soft click of the safe turning open. Inside, there were no sparkling jewels, no gold, no riches. Instead, there were relics of a life that seemed impossibly distant yet achingly familiar. Athena carefully lifted a stack of ticket stubs, yellowed and soft at the edges, the ink faded but the names of places and dates still visible. "These are old trips," Bastian murmured, leaning in. "We went there before everything got so big." Cora's fingers brushed against something soft and fragile. She picked up a dried rose, its petals faded but still shaped like a heart. "It smells like love," she whispered, "like something we forgot." She held it close, as if hoping to bring the scent back to life. Athena reached deeper and pulled out a small USB drive, labeled in neat, careful handwriting, Odyssey Maiden Voyage. This is important," she said, her voice low and urgent. "It's from before. From the beginning of everything." And then, carefully folded, a piece of thick cream paper caught her attention. She unfolded it gently, revealing handwriting she had never seen before, but somehow recognized in its sincerity. It was a will, handwritten by Leo to Alara, before the triplets had even been born. Athena's eyes widened as she read it aloud softly, her small voice trembling with awe. "Every star I can name and all the love in my unknown future." She paused, looking up at her siblings. He meant all of it for her. Every star. Every dream. Every bit of love he didn't even know yet he would have. Bastian gasped, holding the whale tighter. "He really loved her?" he asked, voice cracking slightly. Cora's small hand brushed Athena's shoulder. This This is a map, she whispered. A map to the story we have to show them. To the treasure we have to make them find. Athena nodded slowly, carefully putting the relics back in the safe, one by one, her mind already planning, connecting the dots, imagining the way they would guide their parents back to each other. We have everything we need now, she said quietly. Every note, every smell, every memory, every piece of the past. We can take them back. We can make them remember. Bastian whispered, almost to himself, "Do you think it will work?" Athena's green eyes met his, calm and sure, and she smiled faintly. "It has to," she said. "We are the ones who remember it all. We are the ones who will show them." Cora jumped up, nearly spilling her curls, excitement radiating from her small body. "Then let's start. Tonight. We start planning. We find the big feeling, the happy music, everything they've forgotten. We take them back to the beginning." The studio, once quiet and full of forgotten dreams, now felt alive again, charged with possibility. The sun outside dipped lower, casting long shadows across the relics of the past. And in that golden light, the triplets stood together, small but determined, ready to chase the lost story of their family, to weave together memories, love, and courage into a treasure hunt no one could ignore. The gala hall at the Natural History Museum glittered with golden chandeliers, towering dinosaur skeletons looming silently in the background, and tables set with fine china crystal glasses and carefully arranged flowers that smelled faintly of roses and candle wax. Guests in gowns and tuxedos murmured politely, champagne flutes clinking softly, their conversations floating above the echoing marble floors. The children stood near the entrance, small and careful, eyes sharp, hearts pounding with excitement and nerves. Athena's plan was simple in her mind. Make their parents work together, make them see each other again through necessity, chaos, and love, and maybe, just maybe, spark the story that had been lost. Bastian clutched his stuffed whale tightly, his small hand shaking. I can't do it, he whispered, voice trembling. Athena knelt beside him, brushing a stray curl from his forehead. "You can," she said calmly. "You have to. The cold storm is coming, but we will get through it. I will help you." Cora bounced on her toes, her curls bouncing with her, already scanning the room for opportunities. "I will do the distraction," she said, her grin wide and fearless. "The mascot, the big dog, perfect. Watch this." She tiptoed toward the restrained Great Dane, who wore a stiff little tuxedo and a velvet bow, his leash held tight by a startled handler. Cora crouched, cooed, and whispered something to the dog, then suddenly darted back, giggling, tugging at the leash. The Great Dane lunged forward, spinning and barking softly, chaos erupting in the silent hall. Guests gasped, glasses rattled, and servers froze mid-step, eyes wide. Bastian's small chest heaved with emotion, overwhelmed by the cold storm he could feel inside his parents' distance, the tension that had been building since morning. Suddenly, unable to contain it, he let out a loud, piercing wail that echoed across the silent museum. He dropped his wail, ran to the center of the room, tears streaming down his cheeks, his voice cracking. "Stop fighting. Please. Stop it." His small hands clawed at the air, almost reaching for his parents even as he sobbed uncontrollably. Athena sprang into action. Her voice was calm but commanding. "Cora. Redirect. Bastian, it's okay. Leo, Alara, together." She waved her hands subtly, giving small, precise signals. In a moment that seemed like magic, or instinct, Leo and Alara moved as one. Their training as parents, as protectors of small hearts, kicked in. Leo knelt beside Bastian, wrapping his arms around him, whispering, "It's okay, buddy. We are here. We see you. You're safe." Bastian clutched his father tightly, hiccuping through the sobs, while his small body began to calm. Alara moved to Cora, crouching to her level, still holding her hands gently. "Cora," she said softly, "it's okay, sweetheart. We are going to fix this. Let's help our friends here." Cora's little grin softened, her excitement giving way to relief. The Great Dane, still energetic but now distracted by Alara's voice, calmed, leash held firmly, the chaos subsiding. Together, Leo and Alara coordinated seamlessly. Leo whispered instructions to Alara while holding Bastian. Alara gently redirected Cora, and both apologized to startled guests and the flustered host with a calm, natural ease. "So sorry," Leo said, voice warm, smiling through his own lingering tension. "We'll make sure everything is fine." Alara nodded, bowing slightly. "Yes, thank you for your patience. We've got this under control now." In that moment, standing together, bending to their children, guiding the chaos with skill and care, Leo and Alara's eyes met. For a heartbeat, longer than a heartbeat, they saw each other clearly. They saw the competency they had lost, the connection that had been buried under schedules and spreadsheets, the love they had forgotten how to show. A flash of understanding passed between them, unspoken yet undeniable. Athena, observing carefully from the side, whispered, "It's working." They remember. They feel it again. Bastian, now calmer, looked up at his parents, wiping tears with the back of his hand. "We are okay now," he whispered, voice small but relieved. Cora hugged her mother's leg, smiling softly. "We did it," she said. Athena placed a hand on her brother's shoulder. "Step 1 is complete," she murmured. "The path is clear. The story is beginning again." Outside, the museum glittered in the evening light, but inside, the real treasure glimmered in the eyes of 3 small children and 2 adults who had remembered how to be a family, if only for a moment. The chaos, the distraction, the wailing, the confusion, all of it had worked perfectly. The treasure hunt had begun in earnest, and for the first time in a long while, the room felt full of possibility, laughter, and the promise of love rediscovered. The yacht, the Odyssey, gleamed in the morning sun, its white hull slicing through the calm, blue water, the luxury of its decks and polished rails reflecting the life of opulence Leo and Alara had built. The triplets, small and determined, huddled in a corner of the crew lounge, whispers of mischief and purpose buzzing between them. Cora held the nanny's phone in her tiny hands, a grin spreading across her face. "Watch this," she whispered. "They think it's just a normal day." Athena knelt beside her, green eyes sharp, scanning the yacht and the faint hum of activity from the crew. "Now," she said softly. Cora's voice changed, unnervingly precise, perfectly mimicking her mother. "Hello, family. It's time for your surprise. Please come to the yacht immediately. Love, Mama." She pressed send. Within minutes, Leo and Alara arrived, eyebrows raised, smiles polite but cautious, expecting a mundane family outing. Once aboard, the triplets worked quickly, dismissing the crew under false pretenses, a maintenance check, a minor inspection, leaving the adults alone with the children. Athena guided them to the main salon, where the massive screen flickered to life. On it, a shaky, colorful, child-drawn video appeared, narrated in Cora's voice. "We are going to the place where you began. Follow the clues, or we will drive the boat." Bastian, small hands gripping the helm, sat proudly, his legs dangling, eyes wide with excitement. "I'm captain," he declared, voice trembling slightly with pride and seriousness. The adults exchanged a glance, half amused, half bewildered, unsure if the children were joking, or if the consequences would be real. The yacht started to glide forward, cutting through the water, and the scavenger hunt began. Athena's instructions were clear and precise, each clue leading the parents further into the journey of memory and emotion. Clue 1, a photo of Leo and Alara dancing on the empty deck, their bodies young and carefree in the captured moment, led them to a spot near the stern. There, anchored to the deck, was a child-made painting, a star chart, painted by Bastian, each star glowing with bright crayon colors. He had painted every constellation he remembered seeing with them, every wish whispered at night. Leo bent close, his fingers hovering over the chart. This was our sky," he whispered. Alara's hand touched his, eyes misting. "We forgot," she said softly. Clue 2, the sound of laughter, captured on the USB drive, led them to the master suite, transformed painstakingly by the triplets. Sheets hung like curtains, fairy lights twinkled softly, recreating their very first apartment bedroom. The smell of fabric, the imperfect yet familiar arrangement, brought a memory of simplicity and joy back to the forefront. This is where we started," Leo murmured. Alara crouched to touch the small details, tears glinting in her eyes. We forgot to notice," she whispered. The final clue, the one Athena saved for last, led them to the bow jacuzzi. The water shimmered under the sun, calm, serene, but floating in it were 3 small, weighted dolls, each a miniature replica of the triplets, anchored to the bottom. A note from Athena, written in her careful, small hand, read, "If you break, we sink. We go where your love goes." Alara screamed, a raw, visceral sound that cut through the warm air, fear, and shock coiling in her chest. Leo plunged his hands into the water without hesitation, gripping the dolls, heart pounding, adrenaline ripping through him. His fingers fumbled, struggling to untie the tiny weighted anchors, eyes wide in terror, as the reality of the metaphor, a childish literal warning about the fragility of their love, hit him like a physical blow. Tears streamed down their faces, unrestrained, as they lifted the soggy dolls, holding them close to their chests. Their polished, controlled exteriors, built from years of wealth and appearances, shattered completely in that moment. They were raw, exposed, terrified, and utterly human. The triplets, small and solemn, watched silently, their hands folded, standing near the edge of the bow. Bastian clutched his whale, eyes serious. Cora's curls were damp from the spray, her grin faint but satisfied. Athena's green eyes locked on her parents, unwavering. Do you understand now? Athena asked softly, voice steady despite the tension. Alara's lips quivered as she nodded, tears falling freely. I see, she whispered. Leo, still gripping his children's effigies, swallowed hard, his jaw tight, voice rough. I see, what matters? What we've almost lost. For the first time in years, they looked at each other not as husband and wife who had forgotten. Not as adults burdened by power and wealth, but as parents, as partners, as two human beings who had nearly allowed life to sweep away the story that had built their family. The triplets stood there, quiet, hopeful, the living proof that love, memory, and care could still be reclaimed, even when the world had threatened to take it away. The yacht rocked gently under the fading storm, the sky still heavy with clouds, raindrops dripping from the edges of the deck onto the polished wood, pattering like a soft drumbeat against the hull. Inside the main salon, the emergency lights flickered faintly, casting long, trembling shadows across the walls and the wet, polished floor. The air smelled of salt, damp wood, and the faint lingering scent of the storm outside, mingling with the unmistakable tang of fear, relief, and love that hung thick around the small family gathered in the room. Alara knelt on the floor, small and trembling, the soggy doll clutched tightly against her chest. Her fingers pressed into the wet fabric, feeling the weight and the symbolic power of what the children had created. Her lips quivered, her eyes glistening with tears that reflected the flickering lights around her. She looked down at the doll, then up at Leo, at Bastian, at Cora, and finally at Athena, her voice barely more than a whisper, quivering and raw. We were so afraid we'd fail you, she said, voice catching in her throat. So we built this perfect cage instead. Her words hung in the air like smoke, heavy and suffocating, a confession years in the making. We thought, if everything was perfect, if the rooms were perfect, if the trips and the yachts and the presents were perfect, then we could protect you from disappointment, from sadness, from life. Bastian pressed himself against Leo, his small body trembling from the storm he had felt inside him, the chaos, the cold emptiness that had been building inside for so long, slowly beginning to calm as his father held him. His small hands gripped the edge of Leo's shirt, and his eyes, wide and glimmering, sought reassurance. Leo wrapped his arms tighter around him, holding him close, feeling the steadying pulse of life and fear and love vibrating through the child's tiny body. I thought, Leo began, his voice low, uneven, choked with unshed tears, that if I built you a kingdom, if I gave you everything I could imagine, you would never have to doubt my love. I forgot how to just love you. I forgot that love isn't something you build with walls or yachts or towers. It's something you give. It's something you feel. Something you hold in your hands, something you say with your voice, something you show by being here, being present. Alara looked up, eyes meeting his, and her hands loosened slightly around the doll. We thought we were protecting you, she whispered, voice trembling. But we didn't realize we were keeping you from us. From ourselves. From each other. Athena knelt nearby, small fingers pressed together, eyes unwavering on her parents. You're here now, she said softly, calm and steady. You can see. You can feel. You're not too late. You can still be. Together. We can all still be. Cora crawled closer to Alara, pressing her small hand against her mother's arm. It's okay, she said, voice small but certain. We are here. We are safe. We want you to feel us. To feel love. Not the perfect cage, but real love. The messy, loud, scary, wonderful kind. Bastian's small voice trembled as he added, we felt the storm, we felt the fear, but now it's calm. Because you're here. Both of you. We can feel it. You can still feel it. Leo swallowed hard, tears sliding down his cheeks, and pressed his lips to Bastian's hair briefly. I see it, he said, voice breaking, rough with emotion. I see it now. I see everything we were blind to. Everything we lost sight of while trying to be perfect. I love you. I've always loved you. And I promise, I will not forget again. I will just Love you. That's all that matters. That's all that ever mattered. Alara's tears fell freely now, sliding over her cheeks, and she lowered the soggy doll onto the floor beside her, leaning forward to gather both Bastian and Cora into her arms. I love you, she whispered, voice cracking with relief and sorrow and hope all at once. All of you. Athena, Bastian, Cora. I love you more than anything. And I will not let the cage stop us anymore. No more hiding. No more walls. Just love. Just us. The children snuggled into their parents, small hands clutching arms, curls pressing against shoulders, the storm outside fading into the background as the storm inside dissipated. The yacht rocked gently, rain dripping from the windows, and for the first time in a long while, the family felt it, the real, messy, imperfect, unguarded love that had been hidden behind perfection for far too long. Leo looked at Alara, voice soft now, almost a whisper. We'll do it together. No more cages. No more walls. Just us. All of us. The story, it's ours again. Alara nodded, tears spilling freely, voice trembling but resolute. Yes, ours. We remember. And we'll keep remembering. For them. For us. For this family. No more cages. Only love. The children, small and solemn, looked up at their parents, hope and awe and relief shining in their eyes. Athena's green eyes glimmered with pride, Cora's small grin was faint but bright, and Bastian's chest heaved as he finally relaxed fully in the arms of the parents who had remembered, finally, how to just love. Outside, the storm raged and the waves rolled, but inside the salon, the family held each other close, the cage dissolved, and love, imperfect and real, filled the room completely. The sky darkened quickly, clouds gathering like heavy curtains pulled across the horizon, turning the sunlit day into a muted grey. The wind picked up, rattling the railings of the Odyssey and tugging at the sails of smaller boats nearby. The first raindrops hit the deck, sharp and cold, splattering against the polished wood, followed by a steady drum of rain, the sound echoing through the hull. The storm rolled in fast, furious, and unrelenting, and the family felt it immediately, the yacht rocking slightly, the air thick with the scent of salt and rain. Inside the main salon, the lights flickered once, twice, and then went out entirely. Darkness pressed against the windows and walls, broken only by the soft emergency lighting that glowed faintly, casting long, trembling shadows across the room. Athena, Cora, and Bastian clung to each other for a moment, eyes wide, hearts hammering, but then Athena spoke softly, with authority beyond her years. Stay calm. We are together. That's what matters. Keep the laptop going. Alara hugged herself, shivering slightly from a sudden chill, her curls damp from the spray of the storm hitting the open deck doors before they had been shut. It's so dark, she whispered, voice small, almost afraid. Leo stepped closer, placing a hand gently on her shoulder. It's okay, he said, voice steady but low. We are inside. We have each other. We'll be fine. Bastian crawled onto the couch between his parents, hugging his stuffed whale tightly, the storm outside echoing the storm inside him. The same fear, the same anxiety that had built in him when he felt the cold distance between his mother and father. Cora curled up beside him, whispering, It's just rain. It can't touch us in here. Athena sat across from them, eyes bright, small fingers steady on the keyboard of the laptop. The screen flickered, then steadied, and the home videos began to play. The first frame showed Alara, round-bellied with pregnancy, laughing softly as Leo adjusted the paintbrush in his hand, carefully painting the nursery walls with soft pastel colors. The camera wobbled slightly, clearly handheld, but the image was filled with warmth, light, and hope. Athena's voice, small but firm, whispered, Look, this is before all the towers, before the money, before the yachts. This is before the storm in our hearts began. Leo's eyes softened as he leaned closer to the laptop screen. I remember this day, he murmured. I painted every corner, every line, hoping it would feel like home for them before they even arrived. He glanced at Alara, whose eyes were already glistening. Do you remember how we laughed? How small everything felt but big with love. Alara reached out, resting her hand on Leo's. I remember. I forgot. Somewhere along the way, I forgot how to see it. How to see him. How to see us. How to see you, she said, voice trembling as her gaze shifted to the children. I forgot how to see all of us. Cora leaned forward, her small hands pressed together. But you can see now, she said softly, eyes wide. We are here. We are together. You can feel it again. The next video played, showing Leo carefully folding tiny clothes, speaking to Alara about names they might give their children. Their voices were full of dizzying hope, laughter, and quiet dreams. Bastian's small fingers pressed against the keyboard in awe, as if he could touch the hope himself. I hear it, he whispered, voice catching. The happy music. The feeling. It's coming back. Athena's green eyes met her parents', steady, unwavering. This is the path, she said softly. This is what we've been trying to show you. The story isn't lost. The love isn't gone. You just need to remember it. Alara's hand gripped Leo's tighter, tears sliding down her cheeks, mixing with the raindrops that had blown in through the slightly open deck door. We forgot, but it's here. It's all here, she said, voice breaking but full of wonder. Leo swallowed hard, his jaw tight, eyes shining. It's us. All of it. All the years, all the mistakes, all the love. It's still us. The storm raged outside, lightning illuminating the room in sudden, white flashes, thunder rolling like the heartbeat of the world itself. But inside the salon, the family huddled close, hands intertwined, hearts slowly sinking again. The flicker of the emergency lights cast long shadows, but the images on the laptop glowed softly, bathing them in a warm light that no storm could touch. Cora whispered, leaning against her mother, "We did it. You remember now." Bastian, small shoulders shaking, nodded, eyes bright. "It's coming back. We can feel it again." Athena smiled faintly, proud but calm. "It's not over, but it has begun. The story, our story, is back where it belongs." And as the wind howled outside and the rain lashed against the windows, the 4 small hearts and 2 grown ones sat together in the dim, flickering light, watching the images of their past, feeling the hope return. And knowing for the first time in a long while that they were not just a family in name or appearance, they were a family in feeling, in memory, in love, and that love was powerful enough to weather any storm. The storm outside had softened to a gentle patter on the deck, the waves rolling lazily against the hull of the Odyssey, a quiet rhythm that matched the tentative stillness inside the salon. The emergency lights cast a warm, trembling glow, flickering softly over the soaked, exhausted faces of the family. The air was thick with salt, rain, and the lingering electricity of fear and release. Bastian sat pressed against Leo's side, small hands gripping his father's shirt, chest still rising and falling with the aftershocks of his own storm inside. Cora, small and fearless in her determination, crawled forward without hesitation, her tiny hands reaching for Leo's lap, and she clambered up, curling herself into the circle of warmth his arms provided. "I'm okay now," she whispered softly, though her voice was more instinct than words. "We are okay." Athena stayed on the floor, knees bent, her small fingers brushing over the wet wood before she reached for something she had been saving for this very moment. The handwritten will, a relic from a past life, lay carefully in her hands. Its edges were slightly curled, the ink faded but still readable, filled with the words Leo had written long before the triplets existed, a promise of love and hope that had waited quietly for this exact moment. Athena looked up at her mother, her green eyes steady and solemn. "Mama," she said softly, holding the paper out, careful not to drop it. "This is the real treasure." Alara's hands trembled as she reached for it, eyes widening as she recognized the familiar handwriting, the thoughtfulness, the warmth that had always been there, buried beneath the demands of work, wealth, and appearances. I wrote this," she whispered, voice catching, tears spilling freely down her cheeks. Before you even existed." Athena nodded, small head bobbing, serious and unwavering. "Yes, you wrote it before you had us. And now we want you to finish the story." Leo, still holding Bastian in his arms, swallowed hard, his throat tight, voice rough with emotion. "Finish the story," he repeated softly, almost a prayer, almost a confession. We've lost track for so long. But this is the path back." He glanced at Alara, tears mingling with raindrops and the storm's residue on their faces. "We can still do it," he said quietly. "We can still write the next chapters together, with them, with us, with all of it." Bastian looked up at him, small face serious but trusting. "We can?" he asked, voice small, unsure, still learning how to read the depths of adult words but feeling the intention behind them. "Yes," Leo said, pressing a kiss to Bastian's hair, feeling the calming presence of the child in his arms. "We can. And we will." Cora nestled herself further into Leo's lap, looking up at him with wide eyes. "We want it to be happy," she said simply. "Like the beginning." Alara unfolded the paper carefully, letting Athena guide her hands to the lines of writing. I promised stars, she murmured, tracing the letters. And love. I can still give that. I can still finish it. She looked at her children, eyes softening, full of awe and quiet determination. We all get to finish it. Together. Athena smiled faintly, a rare, small smile that carried all the weight of her cleverness, her worry, and her hope. We already started, she said, voice calm but firm. We've been showing you the way, step by step. You just needed to see it too. Bastian pressed his small hand to the edge of the table, then lifted his gaze to his parents. I feel it, he whispered. I feel the story coming back. Cora tilted her head, small curls brushing Leo's shoulder. We can make it good again, she said, voice filled with certainty and trust. Not perfect, but real. Alara took a deep breath, holding the wool close to her chest, and looked at Leo, whose arms still supported Bastian, eyes red but glimmering with renewed hope. Yes, she whispered, voice strong despite the trembling. Real. Messy. Full of love. That's the story we have to finish. Together. The storm outside faded to a soft drizzle, the yacht rocking gently in the calm water, but inside, the family was anchored in something far stronger, a shared understanding, a promise of love, and the knowledge that the story was theirs to complete. Athena, Cora, and Bastian nestled close to their parents, small bodies warm and full of hope. The room was quiet except for the soft rustle of paper, the whispered promises, and the unspoken knowledge that the true treasure, the love, the family, the story, was right there in their hands, in their hearts, and in the small, steady steps they would take together to finish it. The first light of dawn spilled across the horizon, soft and golden, painting the calm cove in gentle hues of pink and orange. The water lay smooth like glass, reflecting the pastel sky, the yacht anchored quietly in the stillness, as if the world itself was holding its breath, giving this family a moment to breathe, to begin anew. The storm from the night before had faded entirely, leaving behind only the faint scent of rain, salt, and the lingering memory of fear turned into relief. Leo and Alara stood side by side on the deck, hands intertwined, eyes red and tired from crying, from laughter, from everything that had happened in the past day. They looked at each other briefly, a silent communication passing between them, a promise renewed, a commitment whispered without words. Then Leo turned to the triplets, bending slightly to reach their small eyes, and Alara unrolled a giant sheet of paper across the polished deck floor, the edges curling slightly in the morning breeze. On the paper, drawn in thick crayon strokes, were lines, shapes, and illustrations, the handiwork of Bastian. It was a map, a new contract of family life, filled with promises that had been absent for far too long. Monthly adventure, no phones. Leo read aloud, voice rough with emotion but steady. He smiled down at Bastian, who beamed proudly. Every month, we go somewhere together. No screens, no distractions. Just us. Alara traced her finger across the map to the next promise. Mom's studio day, Dad brings snacks, she said softly, voice full of warmth. One day a month, I get to create, and Leo will help make it special. No interruptions, no work calls, just art, and fun, and time for me to be me. Cora clapped her small hands together, excitement sparkling in her eyes. Yay! And Dad's lab time, she added, pointing at the next section of the map. Leo chuckled, voice gentle. Dad's lab time, Mom gives ideas. Yes. One day a month, I get to work on experiments, build things, and Mom, you get to give ideas, help me think, be part of it. He glanced at Alara, who nodded, her lips twitching into a small, happy smile. We'll be partners in everything, she said, soft and certain. The final promise was written in bold crayon strokes, jagged but beautiful in their childish perfection. Family pile UPS every Sunday. Athena's green eyes sparkled as she whispered, that's the best one. Pile-ups mean hugs, games, being together, being silly. Bastian jumped in, voice small but thrilled. Yes. We pile up. Every Sunday. No exceptions. Alara took a deep breath, holding Leo's hand tightly, and spoke with the kind of seriousness that only comes from a parent who has almost lost everything that matters. Divorce is off the table, she said firmly. We are doing this. We are staying together. The work begins now. Leo nodded, eyes shining, voice steady but soft. Yes. The real work begins now. The work of remembering what matters, of choosing each other every day, even when it's hard, even when life gets loud and busy. Athena, small and solemn, crouched in front of the giant paper map, tracing her finger along the promises. We can do this, she said quietly. We will help. We will remind you when you forget. We will make sure the story keeps going. Cora leaned forward, hands pressed against the deck, grinning wide. And we'll make it fun. I can make treasure hunts and surprises, she exclaimed. Just like before. Bastian's voice trembled a little with excitement. And we can have music. And stories. And maybe even more stars painted on the walls. Leo bent down, pressing a hand to each of the triplets' heads, one after the other, his voice breaking but full of love. We will do it all. We will be here. Together. Every day. We will not forget again. Alara crouched beside them, tears running freely, voice soft but certain. We will remember. We will make it real. Not perfect, but real. Messy, loud, and full of love. Just like it should be. The triplets cheered softly, small hands pressing against the map, pressing against their parents, feeling the warmth, the solidity, the promise of something new. Athena whispered, "This is our story again. You're writing it with us, with all of us." The morning sunlight reflected on the calm water, glinting across the deck, casting golden light over the map, over the promises, over the family holding each other close. The storm was gone, but the lessons remained. The real work of love, of remembering, of being a family, had begun. The laughter, the small adventures, the pile-ups, the messy, wonderful life stretched ahead like the gentle waves against the yacht, steady, endless, and full of possibility. The children pressed close to their parents, small bodies intertwined, voices soft but certain. We are ready, Cora said. Athena nodded. We'll keep helping. We'll make sure it lasts. Bastian's grin was wide, hopeful, and full of wonder. Yes, we are ready too. Alara and Leo exchanged a glance, a mixture of relief, love, and determination shining in their eyes. Then let's begin, Leo whispered. Right now. Together. All of us. And so as the sun rose higher, painting the yacht and the cove in warm golden light, the family sat together on the deck, hands intertwined over the giant crayon map, hearts full of hope and laughter waiting to happen, ready to start the work of remembering, the work of love, the work of being truly, imperfectly, wonderfully together. The penthouse was quiet in the late afternoon, the city outside glittering faintly as the sun began to dip toward the horizon, painting the glass walls with gold and rose. The skyline shimmered in its usual brilliance, towers glinting, lights reflecting off steel and glass, but inside, the space felt utterly different. The air was warm, rich with laughter, with glue, with the smell of cardboard and paint, and with something far rarer in this apartment than expensive furniture or designer decor. It was full of life, of chaos, of love that had returned to its rightful place. In the playroom, the triplets were in the middle of a grand, sprawling construction. Boxes of all sizes were stacked and taped together, some precariously, some carefully, forming the beginnings of a spaceship that stretched across the floor like a miniature city of imagination. Crayons, glitter, and scraps of colored paper littered the carpet, making little trails that showed where each child had traveled in their creative frenzy. Athena, green eyes focused, was carefully applying tape to a panel, muttering instructions to Bastian and Cora in her precise, serious way. No, hold it there, Bastian. Cora, that window goes on the left side, not the right. If we do it wrong, the spaceship won't fly. Bastian, small hands trembling with concentration, held his side panel carefully, eyes bright with excitement. I'm holding it. I'm holding it steady. Don't worry, Athena, he said, voice proud. Cora, fearless and mischievous as ever, was perched on top of a tower of boxes, waving a crayon like a flag. The spaceship has to have a control tower. And I'm the captain. Everyone listens to Captain Cora, she declared, laughing as she teetered precariously. Just then, Leo and Alara entered the room, dressed not in the suits and gowns that usually defined their lives, but in soft, worn sweatshirts from their college days, comfortable and familiar. Their eyes softened at the sight of the room, at the chaos and the joy, at the children completely immersed in their world of imagination. For a moment, they simply stood, taking it all in, the weight of the past weeks falling away in the warmth of the scene. Alara bent down to pick up a piece of cardboard, glancing at a box that needed a windshield. Here, this one, she said, cutting carefully, her hands steady but gentle, soft curls falling into her eyes as she concentrated. Do you think this will work? Cora clambered down to watch her mother, eyes wide. Yes. Perfect. That's exactly how a spaceship windshield should look. Leo found a roll of tape on the floor and tore off a piece with a grin, kneeling beside a leaning tower of boxes. We'll fix this, don't worry. Tape makes everything stronger, he said, placing it carefully across a seam. There. That should hold it. Athena glanced up, a small smile tugging at her lips. Mom, Dad, you're helping. Finally. You're part of the crew. Alara laughed, a sound rich with relief and joy, and tapped Athena gently on the shoulder. We are, sweetheart. We are part of it. No watching from the sidelines. No instructions from the outside. We are in the middle of it, just like we should be. Bastian clapped his small hands, squealing with excitement. We are all together. Building the spaceship together. Leo chuckled, brushing a strand of hair from his forehead, and held out a piece of tape to Cora. Captain, let me help you secure that control tower. We can't have it collapsing mid-flight. Cora giggled, taking the tape. Thank you, co-pilot. We'll make it the best spaceship ever. Boxes shifted, some toppled slightly, but laughter filled the room louder than any crash. Glue glinted on fingers, glitter stuck to small cheeks and arms, and the smell of cardboard and paint mingled with the warm scent of family and home. The chaos was perfect, imperfect, and utterly real. Alara stepped back for a moment, hands on her knees, watching the children and Leo. Do you see this? She whispered softly. This is everything. All the money, the yachts, the penthouse. None of it matters without this. Without them. Without us doing it together. Leo nodded, eyes soft. I see it now. I see what we almost lost. And now we are here, making it real. Messy, loud, ridiculous, but real. And that's what counts. Athena handed her father a small, wonky steering wheel made from cardboard, taped and colored, the centerpiece of the spaceship's cockpit. Hold this, Dad. We are all going to steer together. Alara picked up Leo's hand, and together they took the hands of Athena, Bastian, and Cora, pressing them all onto the steering wheel. Small fingers intertwined with large, worn ones, glitter and glue smudging their palms, but no one cared. The spaceship was theirs, and they were at the helm, together. The camera of imagination, their eyes, their hearts, pulled back slowly, as if from a wide window. The glittering Manhattan skyline stretched